I think if you look out over the next 50 years, and if you say we're going to get 20 million more people, and we got to either build more airports, we need more runways, we need more freeways. I mean, try building a freeway in Orange County, conservative Orange County. They stop you. Try expanding an airport, rather, in Orange County, or an airport in San Diego. Very difficult to do, or in the Bay Area. So as I look at it, the high-speed rail is going to, and the peer-reviewed analysis tells us it's cheaper to build a high-speed rail.
We anticipate that we will see very strong private sector involvement. The private sector, whether it's individual companies or companies associated with countries like Japan, Korea, and others, the private sector comes in and buys the right to operate the system, to collect the revenues, to put up the trains, and they make money from that.
California is going to become the model for high-speed rail.
There have been some reports that the Obama administration has backed off in its support.
We are 1,000% committed to high-speed rail in America. This is the president's vision. This is the president's big view of the next generation of transportation, which is high-speed intercity rail. There's no backing off. We're 1,000% behind. That's why I'm spending 3 days here.
You know, I signed my first high-speed rail bill 30 years ago. It's taken that long to get things going. Yes, it's going to take a while. It took a while to do anything. You know, when BART was proposed, my father was governor, they barely got it approved by less than 1 point. There were a lot of skeptics. You even had a local county here that said, we don't want BART. Well, now they want BART. They're a little late, but they're getting it. So, what this is all about is investing in the future. I know there are some fearful men, I call them declinists, who want to put their head in the hole and hope reality changes. I don't see it that way. So I think when you look at it economically and environmentally and quality of life, it makes a lot of sense. And we're on a track moving forward. We're putting out our business plan. We invite critique and analysis, but we're headed to start some building toward the end of this year.
This is what the future will look like if California Governor Jerry Brown has his way. Bullet trains speeding at 220 miles an hour between Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Jose, San Diego, and Sacramento. The San Francisco-LA trip will take 2.5 hours, which compares to an hour's flight plus airport time or a 5 or 6 hour drive. Using this animation, the boosters of high-speed rail have touted their vision of fast trains for years and convinced voters to okay the 800-mile-long system, a plan which is still on the books.
This is dead zero on the train. We're standing where the train tracks are going to be right now, where I have been told more or less that that's the angle it's taking out across my property.
We bought this place with the idea that we were going to retire, spend the rest of our lives here, and I see that all going up in smoke.
Still, with all the opposition in the state, in Sacramento, and in Washington, the question remains, why keep pushing forward? Many observers say it's Governor Brown's way of leaving a legacy, the way his father, Governor Pat Brown, built the state's water, highway, and university systems.
It's hard to tell if it's legacy building or an environmental resume or what have you, but it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
While local concerns, state budget deficit, and the uncertainty of national support for high-speed rail may derail California's plans, supporters have an answer. They say that the Golden Gate Bridge, Hoover Dam, and even the Transcontinental Railroad were built in hard times. So they're sticking to their plan, which includes fast trains between San Francisco and LA in 20 years. If it doesn't work out, this vision for the Grand Central Station of the West may end up, as the critics call it, a very expensive bus stop.
How can we possibly spend such huge amounts of dollars when we don't have enough money to support education? And so we need to carefully look at this high-speed rail and make sure it makes sense from a cost-benefit standpoint before we proceed with this enormous amount of dollars, which it appears that we do not have in California.
We understand what the politicians say. The reality is, can anybody tell us what we're sacrificing this stuff for?
Frank Oliveira's family has owned this parcel for generations, but the state is using its eminent domain authority to forcibly purchase thousands of acres of prime farmland from Oliveira and others up and down the Central Valley.
Why is our livelihoods here being destroyed for this project that will never materialize?
Those who believe that California is in decline will naturally shrink back from such a strenuous undertaking. I understand that feeling, but I don't share it, because I know this state and the spirit of the people who chose to live here.
Convinced, among other things, that rail service in California is grossly inadequate, voters here in 2008 approved a bond issue to pay for high-speed rail. But a recent field poll shows that 2/3 of those voters would like a chance to vote again, and most of them would vote no. Meanwhile, some legislators from both parties who had originally supported high-speed rail are having second thoughts. In fact, one Republican senator, Doug LaMalfa of rural Northern California, is trying to put the issue on the ballot again as a way of getting rid of a plan he considers a deception because its projected costs have doubled since the vote and now are estimated at around $100 billion.
Our state budget is collapsing all around us here. We're having to make drastic cuts to things we don't want to have to, and yet they still hold on to this pipe dream of funding high-speed rail with money that isn't coming from the private sector or likely any more from the federal government.
Some, you may not be around when it's finished, but I want you to think about those who built the cathedrals of Europe. First it was the son, and then the grandson, then the great-grandson. May have taken 6 generations, but they had a vision of the future. It wasn't about me, self-gratification today. It was about sacrifice. It was about common endeavor. It was about pulling together the resources of the community to make sure that in years to come, the community prospered and the quality of life improved.
The cost of building the train is astronomical. The environmental damage of building the train is astronomical. You're so much better just by using environmentally friendly electric vans, autonomously driven, to take you from San Francisco to LA. If that's what you want to do, that's the way to do it. It's not through this 1960s Japanese bullet train technology.
This fellow named Elon Musk, I know you've heard of him, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, he's created another company to do something about this. Everybody's been hearing about this. Now, question is, are underground tunnels, at least the one that he's putting together in California, the actual solution? RT's Natasha Sweet visited the actual site where this network is now being completed. Here's her report.
Elon Musk is using rocket technology to build tunnels, and he hopes this test site here in Los Angeles paves the way for a much bigger transit system all across the country. Musk founded the Boring Company in 2016 after complaining about LA's terrible traffic. And now that same company is behind the creation of a test tunnel on the west side of Los Angeles, just blocks from the SpaceX headquarters. They're expecting to debut their test tunnel on December 18th.
Almost every city in the world has severe traffic issues, and there really don't seem to be solutions that are anywhere around the corner.
And now Musk hopes that these network of tunnels serves as a start. So this first tunnel is merely for Musk to get public feedback. But if the reaction is positive, he says that the possibilities are almost endless. There will be options of personalized transit, an almost underground highway, if you will. Musk is also working on a high-speed subway, some that can actually go faster than a jet.
With Democrat Governor-elect Gavin Newsom in California set to take the reins, residents are shifting their attention to the high-speed rail system they voted on over a decade ago. One America's Rachel Roboto has more on what's been dubbed the train to nowhere.
It's possibly the biggest fiscal disaster that's ever made it out of the ballot box. And now Californians are stuck footing the bill for a project that's gone completely off the rails.
It was designed to be a commuter's dream, but now the bullet train has turned into a money pit nightmare. Democrat Governor-elect Gavin Newsom has given little insight on what his future plans are for California's high-speed rail, which is projected to cost between $77 and $100 billion to complete. These projection costs are significantly higher than the $10 billion estimate leaders like Newsom, Dianne Feinstein, and Nancy Pelosi rallied on when they convinced voters to approve the project funding back in 2008. But Newsom's hopes for future investments will likely never come, as even members of Congress have called the project a total loss and are refusing to give any more federal dollars to complete it. In fact, the California High-Speed Rail Authority might actually have to repay the government $3.5 billion if it fails to meet the federal deadline and complete the project in the next 4 years. This after a recent audit found flawed decision-making and poor contract management contributed to billions in cost overruns and years of delays.
I think it should have to go back to the voters. One, the cost overruns. They're talking now that it could be $69 billion or more. They said the private sector would invest, and they have not.
Building this train in California is very strange. We're kind of bringing 1960s train technology, Japanese train technology, to California in 2030, 2040. You're going to have autonomous cars, autonomous vans that will take you from your home in San Francisco and drop you off to wherever you want to go at the time you want to be there in Los Angeles for, I don't know, $25, $50, something like that. The problem with trains, Elon Musk said it very well, trains leave when you don't want to leave, from a place you don't want to leave from, and take you to a place you don't want to go to at a time you don't want to get there. And then you have to get into a car and then go wherever you're going. It is a crazy system. It is, I guess, the people who love it say, well, this is going to get people out of their cars. It's not true.
Personally have been supportive of the high-speed rail project since my time as mayor of the city and county of San Francisco. Actually, it's a bit of an understatement. This is the biggest infrastructure project in California's history, and it does something remarkable in combining grit and glamour in a way that few other things can.
But the cost is not the only thing that's changing. Newsom, who was a huge crusader for the bullet train, has flip-flopped on his position as commuters have grown increasingly frustrated with the state's crumbling infrastructure and congestion on the roads.
This project has become something it never was intended to be. The project is no longer a $33 billion project. The project's years and years behind. The project's wildly over budget.
California Governor Gavin Newsom slamming the brakes. The Democrat significantly scaling back on a long-promised high-speed rail project connecting San Francisco to Los Angeles, saying the price tag is astronomical. William Lajeunesse is live with more from our West Coast newsroom. William, so what exactly doomed this project?
Absolutely everything, Sandra. Bad management, unrealistic projections, condemning farmers' land meant lawsuits and delays, fault lines in mountains proved impossible to avoid, zero private investment, inaccurate ridership surveys, rising subsidies for ticket prices. Officials misled voters about every aspect of this boondoggle from the day it was approved for $10 billion in 2008. For this train connecting L.A. to San Francisco in 2 hours and a half, well, Republicans opposed it, but Democrats and unions supported it. Then yesterday, Governor Newsom, facing reality, scaled the project back by some 80%.
Abandoning the high-speed rail entirely means we will have wasted billions and billions of dollars with nothing but broken promises, partially fulfilled commitments, and lawsuits to show for it.
So Democrats' Green New Deal claimed, and I'm quoting, high-speed rail would make planes obsolete. That is a claim, in this case, clearly shown to be highly unrealistic. Sandra?
All right, William, but this project was already underway. Money was already spent. How much are taxpayers on the hook for?
All